let's get things started. For most people here, obviously you guys are probably already familiar with Will and Stu, but let's take this as an opportunity just to kind of kick things and start things off by allowing Stu and Will to introduce themselves and give a little bit of history and so forth. So let's go ahead and let's start with you, Stu, if you want to go ahead and take the stage and kind of give us a little bit of an introduction.
Hey everybody, sorry, having some trouble with my microphone here. Hope everybody's doing great. Uh, Great to be. Thanks for joining, and it's great to be talking to you all. I'm Stuart Popejoy, CEO, and a lot of people know my background here, but briefly, I'm very old technologist who's what was in finance for about 15 years before founding Kadena with Will. I brought in Will to form the blockchain group at JP Morgan in 2014, and we founded Kadena out of that in 2016 to build a blockchain for enterprise. And this has evolved is an understatement. This has drastically shifted at various points in time, especially when we launched Chainweb in 2019, and going into the whole explosion of DeFi and things like that, we became a very public-focused company. And so that's why it's very exciting now that we're shifting back to an enterprise focus with our website relaunch last month, and really pointing all our guns at that, also really focusing on things like getting the job done to have EVM integration, and basically just as the industry embraces public blockchain, making it that Kadena, this is what we really built this thing for. So demonstrating all those benefits to the business community and really getting the real adoption for business blockchain. I'll stop there.
Thanks, Sue. Will Martino, co-founder and now president of Kadena. As Stuart mentioned, probably all of y'all have heard my background at length on previous occasions too, but just to sum up for anyone who's new, I have about, 10, 15 years experience in the industry. I spent about 3, 4, 5 years in tech and finance, stuff relevant to blockchain as I was at the SEC, redoing how they, or modernizing how they do examinations when the crypto working group got formed and they needed someone who had the clearance and didn't own any coin and who understood the tech to be able to come in and be kind of the tech co-lead for the cryptocurrency working group, which has now grown into a much larger thing at the SEC. After that, ended up at JP Morgan with Stuart, where we basically started their blockchain innovation group, and we built their first blockchain. And then after that, went to I kind of, like Stu and I were talking one day, and we were just like, we have an opportunity here to really kind of answer these questions that we were having coming out of JP Morgan, because we were doing vendor vetting on behalf of the company with regard to blockchains, and we had a bunch of open questions of how will we see real industrial adoption. And one of the core tenets of how Kadena was formed was, assume by 2030 that crypto is a thing and that it is widely adopted. What is the technology substrate that we're going to need to actually realize that future? And we realized that a lot of the questions that we'd had from JP Morgan needed to get answered for that to happen in a meaningful way. And we left and found it, and it's been a wild ride ever since.
All right is definitely a good keyword here. And I think that kind of plays into where we want to kind of start things with is, so where we've seen Kadena go, we've all know that upcoming this year has kind of been a new vision, a new roadmap, a new direction that we've been going. There definitely is probably, a lot of questions when it comes to, originally the ideas were going from private, there was a hybrid going into public direction for the blockchain itself. So I think what would be a good opportunity is just for us to be able to kind of pick the brains of both of you guys and just be able to kind of see what the reasoning was, where you see that kind of going. So like for both you and Stu and Will, let's just look at, kind of elaborating on that pivot and kind of seeing the institutional direction, how we could see adoption. What are things that we feel it's going to be able to help support us in going this way and to kind of create that success for Kadena? Let's start with Stu.
Yeah, so the one of the main things is bringing on Annalise Osborne in April. Really allowed us to start looking at things with a different perspective, especially given the industry adoption of BIDL, all the stuff that BlackRock and Franklin Templeton and everybody's been doing, rolling out to public chains, and just in general, the intense amount of enthusiasm surrounding kind of the traditional finance and also retail investors getting more access to Bitcoin via BTC. It's just now you have people saying things that we've been saying for years, like public blockchain is the future of traditional finance. And so the pivot is really to, it does involve some tech shifts. It doesn't really change what we're doing on the blockchain itself too much, except insofar as doing stuff we were already doing, like enhancing standards. Yeah, all the work we're doing on Marmalade, which is now going to be directly usable in an upcoming real world asset standard. So that stuff, the stuff that we're doing as far as public chain is, at least insofar as people writing smart contracts and Pact and things like that, isn't going to change that much, except that there'll be kind of better cookbooks and it'll be easier for developers to write these applications, and a lot of support for using Sparky and delivering like best-in-class UX for these applications, because that's something that's going to, that's one of the reasons why Solana has done well. You look around and there's different ways to differentiate, and one of the ways to differentiate is making the user experience really first class, and playing to our strengths in terms of a very secure experience too, making it easy to do like joint custody and so these are all concrete benefits that we can bring to the business community. But then we also have to integrate. And so as far as that goes, we have a number, we're looking at EVM from a number of fronts, and that includes being able to do ZK proofs off of Ethereum on Kadena. That includes being able to call smart contracts in Pact as though they were Solidity contracts, so that an existing Pact fungible can just show up as an ERC20 natively on Chainweb. And then finally, actually putting a full-scale VM in Chainweb, most likely the Rust VM, Ref. So, and these are all because it's not so much whether or not about using Solidity or not. It's really that a lot of what the industry wants to see is standards adoption. And so, one way or another, we want to make it that everything on Kadena has access from all of the standards that are being developed on Ethereum. So that's something that we're going to be making a lot of moves in the next quarter or two.
Awesome. And Will, do you want to go ahead and add on to that?
Stu got really to the core of it. This is largely it's a return to fundamentals. I think for us, just being able to build real, being able to answer the questions that industrial adoption still demands answers for. But I mean, as we were saying with UX, it's a massive part of the equation as well. I mean, I'm really looking forward to seeing what we can do with Annalise and her, ability to utilize her, like our ability to utilize her experience, her strategy, and bring on a proper institutional team to really go after industrial adoption. When we tried to do it, maybe like 4 or 5 years ago, it was just too early, frankly. But now that Biddle's out, it's such a big deal that it can't be understated that actually having this out in production really opens the door for proper institutional and industry adoption in a way that just it hasn't been before. And Stu and I are a really strong pair for this. We with our experience in TradFi, we just have a really strong background to speak to and work with institutional partners. And a big part of this involves developing use cases and demos of our existing technology so that we can get real case studies out there of the showcase of the benefit of our blockchain. And a lot of that comes out of Stuart's work with Pact, and also ever since then, the community's work on making Pact better, on making the blockchain better, on highlighting deficiencies, and so that we can go and fix them. The community serves just a super important role as we pivot back to our kind of foundations, our fundamentals, and their ability to empower and spread awareness of the dApps that are built on our network is just going to be absolutely critical.
I agree, and to be honest, a lot of times too, it comes down to timing, right? And so sometimes the timing evolves, and I think at this point in time, we're now seeing the collection of the BD team growing together, as you're pointing out with Annalise. We're going to be having more stuff coming behind the history of these team members and what their hands have been a part of, and strategy wise, results wise, technology, the companies, the networks, the people, a lot of different things. So like as we just saw recently, we saw Jeff Cooperstein being brought on board with the BD team as well, right? And so this plays back into him coming from one of the largest private blockchains of R3 and now looking at it from the desires of public blockchain. And that's the narrative that we're hearing early on from a lot of conversations of what the BD team has been interacting with when it comes to events and so forth. So the narrative is there. It seems like the timing is perfect, and obviously this is now the opportunity for us to kind of take advantage of that. So with that being said, I'm sure there's going to be a lot more questions behind that. We'll leave that to the AMA. But I want to kind of take an opportunity here just to kind of run through the roadmap a little bit so we can kind of give people some updates on things. After we run through that, then we'll open this up to all the questions and just kind of let Will and Stu kind of take the stage from there and rock and roll. So let's move forward here on the roadmap. I did see some comments on the side there. I know some people are having some issues with the audio. Sometimes jumping in and out will help. There's also choosing your output settings in your Discord seems to be helping for some of these people. But we will be recording this entire thing. It's currently being recorded now. So we'll make sure that we post this afterwards so people can be able to listen back to it in case there's any challenges and so forth. So with that being said, let's jump through the roadmap. I'm going to kind of take it from top to bottom. So we'll start out with the MetaMask snaps. Obviously, it's currently a work in progress. The launch is to be anticipated before the end of the year, and that's going to include both the multi-chain functionality and ledger integration for that. The reasoning why we did this was to kind of allow people inside and out of the Kadena ecosystem to access KDA, and that'd be via the MetaMask wallet itself. The next one was the Encrypt, which was the MyEther wallet integration that's already been launched. At this point in time, we're not prioritizing any future enhancements to it because we're channeling our attention right now on MetaMask, as well as an updated version to Chainweaver as well. So at this point in time, Encrypt is launched. It's available for people to be able to interact with, but we're not going to really see too much more progress there on that part until we kind of get some of the other things aligned. Next one was the WebAuthn, which is SpireKey. SpireKey is currently on mainnet as we speak right now. We are working on getting some of the SpireKey team members to be able to get in action here in Discord to kind of do something similar to this, a little bit of an AMA and some questions so that we can be able to kind of get more insight to the behinds and how to interact with SpireKey in itself. So we'll have some more details on that shortly. I don't want to kind of spoil too much. Regards to the dev wallet, that is a work in progress. This wallet, again, is to kind of focus with Chainweaver being like the basis to that. And that's going to allow for like developers, both community and enterprise, to be able to interact with our blockchain. One of the big ones that obviously has been asked a lot about has been the Kinesis bridge, so otherwise known as the Hyperlane bridge. Currently, it's on DevNet as we speak right now, and that is to be anticipated on launch by Q4 of this year. As we speak right now, as both the auditing and improvements of things that are ongoing right now. To give a basis to that, that was the bridge that's going to allow for us to integrate Ethereum's ecosystem. Now that's also going to include L2. So that would be things like Arbitrum and Optimism and so forth. So there'll be a lot more that's coming to that. Now in the future, that also means that we're going to be able to tie into Avalanche and Moonbeam and Solana and Cosmos and others to that effect. Now, why do we do that? That basically is to bridge liquidity and to bring in users to the ecosystem. And so that's for them to be able to see why our technology has its benefits and whether that's lower gas fees, securing transactions, and more. Now, obviously, there's been a little bit of delay. So it's a very serious project. We've gone through the bridge direction before. So we obviously want to make sure that things are right. And I know that's kind of sometimes a cliche comment to be made, but this is an opportunity for us to take advantage of things and do things right. So we'll definitely be seeing a little bit more progress here shortly. We've already had community members do some testing on things in the past, and that definitely gave us a lot of good feedback. So we'll see more there here shortly. What's the next one? Next one we had was the wrapped USDC. That was the work between Zelcore and Echo. That's already been completed. Obviously, that's been now running with Flux on that side of things there, and we're working with them with the recent stuff that's been going on with Echo. Regards to the other multiple wrap stable coins, that's going to play into the Kinesis bridge. So we'll have a little bit more progress there as that bridge is launched, but that's going to be the plan, is to have more wrapped stable coins as we get the bridge launched. Next piece was Kudos. So that's going to be the lending protocol that we were talking about recently here. The audit has been completed. The app is anticipated to be launched in Q4. We're currently working on a couple different front ends that come along to this. The plan for the couple different front ends is because the team behind it is planning on doing a couple different marketing initiatives for different areas. So we want to make sure that these things are targeting those targeted areas for them. And so what that will do is that we'll bring a native Kadena stablecoin onto our chain, which is the KUSD. The next one that was brought up would be the partnership with Lurk Labs. So that gets into ZK. Now, there has been some confusion lately in the community because some people will see the name Argument. Lurk Labs has renamed or rebranded to Argument in itself. So it is the same partnership, just new branding on Lurk's side of things. Now, basically, the situation there is that it's going to allow for us to be able to enhance Chainweb's capabilities to kind of interpret the EVM to transfer assets, right, between Chainweb and Ethereum. And what that's also going to do is it's going to allow for us to integrate Wormhole as well, too. So with that being said, there will be, what was it? There was a slight bit of delay, I think, is because of the conversations with Snark versus Start. But we'll have a little bit more details on that. There was an article that was published not too long ago that kind of gave some timeframes to things. And so people can be able to reference to that until we get a little bit more information. The OPACT wallet, which is the ZK wallet built by Hackachain, testnet has been completed. That is accessible at this point. Now, basically what the ZK wallet was going to do is it was going to add privacy to our transactions while still maintaining compliance with things like AML and KYC. The infrastructure kind of things for our roadmap, the shallow nodes is something that's still in development. I know we're pretty near, it seems like, to that, so we should have some more information there shortly. Same thing with pack compaction. In regards to pack compaction, it is in progress as we speak right now. There are a few people that actually are already running it, but there's a few things that we want to make sure that is kind of taken care of before we move anywhere further on announcing that. But what this will do is it's going to allow for us to speed up the new nodes and make them more efficient and cheaper with that. Another big question was regarding Pack 5. Pack 5 is in progress. We're still looking at the timelines that have been shared. There was some information on that shortly ago, so I'll lean away from that one at the moment in regards to details, because I don't really know too much more about that at this point, but we'll dive into that as we have more. And then the last piece of the roadmap came into a lot of our tools and solutions. And so this one here is going to be just more like bullet point lists running through to kind of save some time. But the Kadena CLI and ID integrations has been completed. GraphQL itself has been completed as well. The Marmalade.js has also been completed. The HD key generator library has been completed as well. The account abstraction has been paused for the moment, so as the smart wallet. Soulbound tokens and the private NFT have also been paused, as well as the blockchain ETL. So to kind of give a little bit of a summary there is Kadena CLI IDE, GraphQL, Marmalade.js, HD key generator library have all been completed. And then for the smart wallet, account abstraction, soulbound tokens, private NFT, and blockchain ETL have been paused for the moment. So with that now being said, that should be able to give us a little bit of an update when it comes to the roadmap stuff. And then what we want to kind of go from here is probably touch just a little on the ecosystem and the projects. And then from there, we'll open up to the AMAs. So with that kind of being said, let's see. let's open up to the recent summary of ecosystem was grants. So that would be grants have recently been issued to Guardians of Kadena, KD Swap, Wizards Arena, and Immutable Decks. The Oracle has been completed. That was done through DIA partnership. And then as well as regards to the sports partnerships, obviously this would have been an area for Mike to be able to jump into. To give a bit of a brief summary there are multiple sports partnership conversations in the works. The one we are waiting on is regarding to a third or fifth party, basically, that we're waiting on getting kind of sign-offs and so forth from. So progress is still there from what we've been updating on. I think Mike updated that on Discord here last week. The other sports partnership, there is a little bit of urgency because of considering their schedule and things that are going on, that they want to be able to get something up and going. So we should be hearing a little bit more on that here very shortly. I don't want to kind of take Mike's thunder. This was kind of his opportunity for that. So I'm going to kind of leave that one for him once he's feeling a little bit better, since he was under the weather here today. And then regards to the storage partnerships, this was something that has already been completed. That was done through Acord and Arweave. There is some documentation that is out there for it, and we can be able to share a link for that. In regards to the RPC node partnerships, this was completed as well. And then the other one is the cabinet. I'm going to leave that one to Will and Stu today. We'll let them kind of give you guys a little bit more information on that one. And with that being said, that should be able to hopefully wrap up our entire roadmap of that's kind of what's been posted, and give you guys at least up to the current date of statuses and what's happening with all those type of things. So with that being said, let's go ahead and let's open up to some questions. Does that sound good, Will and Stu?
Great.
Yep. Thanks for doing the roadmap.
Of course. All right. So with that being said, let's go ahead and let's take a look at it and let's see what type of questions we want to run through. Now, there was some questions that had been posted over the last few days. Mike kind of teased a little bit in the Discord and got some questions in there. So bear with a second here and let's run through and let's kind of see what we can be able to get out there for you guys. Let's see. Let's start out with kind of the most current obvious one. And Will, I'm going to lean to you on this one, as I know you were involved here in Discord this past weekend in regards to it as well the week before. So some people just wanted to kind of get a little bit more details when it came to the recent attack that came out over a week and a half ago. The clarifications people were asking for is, was this considered an outage or was this not considered an outage? And maybe you can elaborate a little bit better on just kind of all what went down. We shared some information in Discord, but I think it'd probably be easier for people to understand by you just kind of being able to explain it here instead.
Yeah. So we had a vulnerability in one of the nodes for one of the old endpoints that got exploited and attacked, and had was it an outage? Yes and no. I mean, one of the beautiful parts of proof of work chain is that they're like cockroaches. They're incredibly hard to stop. Where there's some availability issues when it came to people being able to do certain things on the chain for a period of time. Yeah, up until the service endpoints were repointed at the portion of the chain that was still mining very effectively. So I wouldn't really call it an outage. I mean, there wasn't even really a proper fork that happened because of it. It was just kind of like a network availability problem for a period of, I think it was 12 hours, 14 hours. It's just that we take these things pretty seriously. We've had them happen before. And, we usually reach out to the exchanges and be like, hey, look, there's something weird going on. You should turn off, being able to settle out to mainnet for a period of time and just keep in touch, and we'll let you know when things are looking a lot better. And this one was kind of a blip. It's just extremely annoying that it was Saturday at 10 Eastern time, which of course was intentional on the part of the perpetrator of this. And there's only so much that we can do about it. And we have a bounty program, and people don't want to get paid for their exploits, or they want to get paid more than we're willing to shell out, then there's a ton that we can do. We like working with white hat hackers. We have a long history of working with them. Some of it is public, some of it's not public. They've all been fine. This outage was, or not outage, this attack was particularly annoying to me because 2 years ago we had one that was around the same time of the year, which was nearly on my birthday and caused me to have to leave my freaking birthday party. And I've been grumbling about it for 2 years since. And then this one happened almost 2 years on the dot, and luckily did not cause me to have to leave my own freaking birthday party to go and deal with this. It happened in between party and actual birthday, which was fantastic, and it got resolved. Also, it really showed, the community really came together. Certain actors inside the community were, being able to, or it was very clear showing what is going on with certain actors in the community who don't have Kadena's best interests at heart. Um, for a period of time, the block production was slowed from around 30 seconds to a few minutes for a period of time, and that's is that an outage? Oh, I wouldn't really call it one. We've had when we first launched, we had this is actually when we did kind of the pre-launch before we even turned on transfers. We had a much bigger event that I would probably call something closer to an outage. But that was also before we even had transactions turned on, which was for a reason, because we were just launching a new chain. But yeah, and I guess what else would I talk about on this? It's annoying, but it's just we're in tech, and sometimes people like to attack your servers. I also don't know if I would call it a DDoS versus a DOS. Was there more than one server, so it was technically a distributed denial of service attack? Yeah, but it wasn't a bot farm. It was, I don't know, 20, 30 servers. So, it's the same way of like, was it DDoS and was it an outage? No, not really. It wasn't really. It was a DOS, and it was just there was just some network issues for a period of time. It's just super annoying, and it's extremely stressful. Having to go through it.
And to be honest,
I hope that answers the question.
100%. You kind of stole my thunder. I was going to sneak in the birthday comment, but you already got to that. So to me, it also felt like it was a bit of a battle test for us as well. I was a part of that and being in the moment of things and kind of seeing how things played out. And it was great to be able to see how the team kind of rallied together. It didn't matter if people were in various different time zones, normal day part of the day, or some were sick. It was really cool to be able to kind of see everybody able to align together and go through this. Now, I know a lot of questions have been asked as well of, what's going to play out from this. And just to kind of let everybody know is that a lot has been taking place. There's been a lot of postmortem kind of conversations. We've had a meeting. We dove into, how to be able to kind of mitigate these things kind of moving in the future, more about just being efficient and stuff like that. So it was a good opportunity for us to kind of take this as a learning curve as well. But I think you hit home pretty well with things, and I'm sure if anybody else has any other questions, they can be able to pop it up in the chat. The other big narrative that I know that's been going around a lot lately is just kind of trying to understand a little bit better on the enterprise side of things. And so one of the questions that was brought up was like, and I'm going to lean to you, Stu, on this one is, what are some like sample applications or like case studies that you feel that we can kind of see enterprise companies use Kadena for? And you can maybe elaborate on that.
Yeah, I mean, this is an easy one. It's because we built a lot of these case studies in 2016. Remember, JP Morgan was involved in all of the private blockchain efforts and consortia circa 2015. And so when we came out, we were immediately in discussion with Bank of New York, with Santander Bank, with of course, with the R3 groups that were happening then. We built a commercial paper use case. We built a loan syndication use case. And it just went from there in terms of, there was a public provider marketplace for Humana. There was commercial insurance policy syndication for CV Star. And then, of course, there's all the efforts surrounding USCF to basically, we were about a good 7 years, or well, not that's too much, 4 years ahead of the curve in terms of what we were planning on doing with USCF before they got a Wells notice and had to shut the whole project down, which was to basically build a treasuries style asset and launch it on chain and with all the necessary kind of middleman infrastructure to make that happen. finally, and then we had our wrapped use case as well, which where we built a complete implementation of security tokens. So, so the great news is that when this quarter is really when the whole thing about enterprise is that it's not the same as public from a visibility point of view, in the sense that it's not the big push is going to be them flexing their Rolodexes and calling, we brought on these advisors, and we brought on some really high-powered sales team members, and these people are basically, working, getting out busting out the shoe leather to basically build these relationships and get these use cases off the ground. And so the problem isn't how we're going to build it. The problem is getting out there and getting the good things that are going on here at Kadena, which include, by the way, us being proof of work, because for the very reasons they were just talking about with the outage. It's our record of uptime in terms of block production is completely unmatched in blockchain. I mean, with except of course something like Doge or Bitcoin or something. And it's important. It's one of the things that and while this one was stressful, the report from engineering was that the main reason why it was stressful is it just hasn't happened to us in a long time. This was actually a fairly vanilla attack, and and it is, and so obviously there's some room for improvement in terms of response, but this is the kind of thing that wasn't a serious threat to the network at any point in time. Of course, outages, service availability events are, something that are great to avoid. But it really just points to the importance of, like the work we're doing with, the stuff with getting the node partners out. I'm forgetting the Tatum. That's why that stuff is so important, is because the more, and this is something that'll happen in enterprise too, as we start to see more use cases doing things like running their own layer 2, they're also going to be running their own chain web nodes. So, the diversity of people running nodes, and we already have a great diversity in terms of miners and pools. So, but this is a very important story for business alongside everything else. There's no way, there's also the fact that, there's no way that you can, Lido is kind of a liability for the stability of ETH as a governance token. So, because the amount of, Lido basically runs Ethereum from an economic perspective and a governance perspective right now. So, whereas we're just good old proof of work, it's nothing but miners running the network. So, and the great news is industry is starting to see that. But the use cases are really those things that, that a lot of them are already in play in one way or another. And all the work that we're doing to bring stablecoins on platforms, stuff like that, is all very important and all very relevant to the enterprise use case, to the various enterprise use cases. And those obviously include things like tokenization of various assets on chain. Identity is a very interesting area, and that's directly what Proof of Us and SpireKey and those technologies are designed to enable. So it's like we've built it, and now we're not waiting for them to come. We're going to yank them over, and that's how Kadena is going to move forward and really drive adoption.
Love it. And proof of work obviously has been, I won't, how you say, I mean, the conversations, the recent events that has just been discussed here, it shows the merit behind proof of work. It shows the security, and it shows a lot of other elements that play into things. So these are all opportunities for us to be able to kind of take this moving forward, to show progress, and to be able to elaborate upon as we dive into all these other types of avenues. One of the things that have been brought up recently, and I was asked here today, and it's been something I've seen for quite a few times, and I'm going to lean to you, Will, on this one, is are there plans to reduce the block time for Kadena?
Yeah, this is a question that comes up a fair bit, and we have in broad strokes plans for it, but it isn't a higher priority item for us. You know, whenever block time comes up, I usually just take the conversation to it's trading versus settlement. And for trading, having 1 second confirmation times was great until it wasn't fast enough, and then it became half a second, and then it became a quarter of a second, and then it became tenths and hundreds and thousands, and I don't know exactly how low it gets anymore. But in HFT, it's blisteringly fast. Of exchanges where everyone gets the same literal centimeter of fiber optic cable for connecting to the switches, so they can get the trades in, which is a long way of saying that there are applications where a settlement time matters, but better settlement time always is better. And those applications, even if in the near term we're seeing some adoption of them, they're always going to be reducing to something that's faster, but it's going to be centralized because you can't beat the centralized the centralized execution time. That you can't beat that with a distributed system. There's just too much networking going on. So the things that I'm actually going to switch together another question onto this, which is because it actually plays well with it. Is there's another question I saw that was what do you see, or like do you see a reason that like why a company would build on Kadena in place of Solana? And the answer is like an emphatic yes, and it's related to blockchain in that in return for where we are right now, we get proper proof of work decentralization. And as the industry continues, there's going to be a lot more scrutiny on it. And as you look at the existing proof of stake systems, there's like they you own a coin, you get voting rights, and you get a dividend off of that coin from staking it. And I'm sorry, that's just an equity. It's not even like it's not even a little bit confusing in that matter. And there are going to be for public decentralized infrastructure, the decentralization does matter. And if you end up, trying to say that, oh, well, if your execution time is over a second, then you never get adoption. It's like, well, what you're going to end up with is we're just going to end up with a slightly more tech savvy version of TradFi. And it's not going to actually be decentralized, not going to be public. It's not going to be anywhere near where crypto was supposed to be going, and where crypto actually can go, where you have public financial infrastructure that anyone can interact with. So just from a regulatory perspective alone, I can see there being a big reason. Just to answer the question further, Pact is a big deal too. It just is. We have a domain specific language built specifically for finance. It has a huge number of benefits to using it versus anything else out there. And we literally designed it for the reason of you need to have if you think of a blockchain as a public financial database, then you need a version of SQL that can run on top of it. And that's really what Pact is all about. It's a public version of SQL that allows you to safely have all of the governance and have all the flexibility, but while still having all the safety that you would need to actually deploy really complicated financial workflows onto the network in a way that doesn't make you either pull your hair out or just, these contracts are their public bug bounties. And we see packs on hacks in the industry. And with, something as advanced as packs, once we see our proper industrial adoption, I'm looking forward to seeing it. Will there be issues? Will there be developers who don't pay attention and make mistakes? Probably, but you're a hell of a lot safer working in our system versus anything else. So I hope that answers the question about block time. The answer is the TLDR is it's on the list, but it's not a super high priority. I don't think that 15 versus 30 seconds makes a huge difference. And in return, because we're always going to be, I think, more than a second at least. And then once you're there, I don't think it makes a huge difference. But in return, we get all of this decentralization, and we get the rock solid stability that is proof of work. That's just unparalleled.
I like it. I like how you stole my question too. I was going to ask you that. All right, awesome. Well, we kind of have a little plan here for the last 10 minutes of things. That leaves us with about 5 more minutes here left. What I want to kind of take this 5 minutes to do here is maybe I can just let that open for both of you guys to be able to kind of maybe just share some of what your optimism is, what you're most excited for over this next couple months, and just play into that a little bit. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to let Stu kind of jump back on here, and Stu, maybe you can be able to kind of just share what you're looking forward to here over the next few months as we wrap up 2024.
Yeah, I mean, it's really turning on the fire hose of, you know, telling a story about all the benefits of Kadena to the business community. Building a team, you really need a team for these things. You can't just walk into these offices, even with someone as impressive as Annalise. You can't just stroll in and just start chatting. You have to have, I mean, it's it's funny. Kadena does things that in time frames that no other company can even think of. Like we were able to completely overhaul our website in a month and a half. I mean, Mike and Carl and Jeff and everybody on the marketing team, Enzi, all these people really kicked ass on that one. And it's important because, part of the thing is making sure that when we go in and talk to these big players that, when you go to the website, you see the exact same things that they were talking about in the call. And what's more, you can learn more and you can find out, and then your tech team can go in and they can start playing with the technology right away. And so the thing is that getting that team together, we brought on some amazing advisors from we've got people coming out of both crypto and traditional finance coming in, and really leaning in to help us position ourselves properly. But the point is that none of that stuff, that's not the kind of stuff that you can, throw on Discord or whatever. And that's what's really kicking off in September. So this is just huge. This is really what we've been working on. This is why we executed this pivot. This is why we relaunched this website. So that really, like, moving forward aggressively with that stuff is what's next. And keeping in mind that all the things that we're doing with wallet integration, with data availability, with everything that's going on with our tech right now and not just tech, but partnerships and bringing up the bridge and bringing up a lending platform. These are actually all part of a modern crypto-based financial system, and that's, I think, one of the things about Annalise is that she's really one of the few people who has the ability to articulate how everything in crypto and everything in traditional finance will eventually merge, because you have to understand both sides really as a native to be able to tell that story. So that's something that we're going to be talking a lot more about. That's something that, like, everybody, soon it's going to be really easy to talk about what kind of benefits Kadena brings, because people will already be talking about it. So that's what I'm most excited about.
And it's putting the right pieces in the right place, and the timing's coming about. And Will, I'll let you kind of give your 2 cents of what you feel most, optimistic about and excited and all that good type of stuff.
For me, it's the same stuff that Sue just said. I was excited to get to kind of the fundamentals of why we left JP to form Kadena and be able to actually go out to that with a business and marketing team that's really capable of executing on it, and having a market that's ready for it in a way that it just wasn't before. And to the people that I see asking, what happened to the questions that Mike took down from y'all last week, we actually answered most of them. We just didn't get to them because we have a time limit, and it sucks. I'm sorry. We should just do another one of these.
Love it. Yeah, no, that's Mike caught us by a little bit of surprise on that one, originally asked. So we could definitely be able to look at probably getting some more material behind it. We don't want to ignore the questions that were asked. I think some of them have been answered in certain angles from things that have been shared here today as well. So we'll definitely look to get that squared away there for you guys. Apologies, we're only on a little bit of a time strain here. But with that being said, we got 10 minutes left, and we kind of want to announce something. So I'm going to go ahead and beat the drums a little bit. I'm going to let you take over, Stu, and kind of share some news for everybody that's listening today.
Yeah, which is that Kadena Cabinet is going live soon. And that's something that's, for community members, is something that will be directly applicable to them, and something that allows them to use people holding KDA to be able to, put their tokens to work on chain, and then very importantly, participate in the kind of most important community-oriented questions facing Kadena. A lot of what we've done in the past 2 years is really the community support has been up and down, and in terms of like trying to engage in more of a community process surrounding decision making for like standards and things like that. And so this we think puts the great thing about crypto is always that you create the right incentives for people to do the right thing for the network. And that's what the cabinet really does, is it makes it rewarding to get involved in these discussions. And it rewards you for longer lockups, so that if you lock up for 12 months, you get like really nice return. Whereas if you lock up for 3 months, it's not as attractive, but then you have the flexibility. And we had a bonding program before that was really kind of more about network security. It was for a bridge that we were unable to find the right partner to launch on the ETH side. But it was based off of Tezos, and so it had the bonds were 50,000 KDA each. And the idea there was similar to when they kind of started offering staking for Ethereum. You wanted to make sure that people had enough skin in the game. This is different. Now we've got a minimum 100 KDA, and so that you still have to like put plunk a little money down. But again, the real focus here is that it allows you to get involved, and it's really via getting involved that this stuff becomes more meaningful and how it helps the network, and then you get rewarded for that. So, because you do lock up money, you get it at the end of your lockup period along, and you get more of a reward by participating in the various cabinet decision-making processes. So, so this is a very exciting development. It's been a long time coming. Like many things here, it's ran into some delays, and we really appreciate the community, sticking with us as we get these important things out. But it's great to be having that heading out the door.
Absolutely. Yeah. The key word there is soon. Will, I think, already gave the answer. People are paying attention to the chat. So Kadena Cabinet will be launching in officially 7 minutes. So here at 12 o'clock, the cabinet website will be active. So that's cabinet.kadena.io. That will allow for you to be able to hop on board. Shortly after this AMA closes, we are going to open up the first lockup. And that lockup will give you guys the opportunity to lock in that KDA. Part of this cabinet process is for the community to be able to make decisions and to help impact this ecosystem and just decisions in general for Kadena. We want to gather insight and feedback and make sure that we're allowing for that voice to be heard. And that's the only way we're going to be able to grow. So with that being said, is here at 12 o'clock my time, which is in 6 minutes. So we'll convert that to everybody else's time zone. Hop on to cabinet.kadena.io. You'll be able to see the interface. You could be able to connect your wallet. But again, give it a few minutes after the AMA closes for that lockup to go in. There are some numbers to go behind this as well. And on that cabinet interface, there will be a link that comes to a guide. That guide will give you guys better instructions on how to interact with cabinet. That will also give the information for lockup periods. So what that means is there will be a minimum, as Stu said, of 100 KDA to lock in. So that definitely is much lower than what was seen in the past. So that's to make it more accessible. Per account, there will be a maximum of 5,000 KDA to be locked up. Now, there will be multiple lockups as we go along. So what's going to happen is this initial lockup will take place, and then we'll look at activating a few more down the line as well. The percentages gained behind these things, there's going to be 4 different terms that you can choose from. So there's going to be 3, 6, 9, and 12-month lockups. For 3 months would come out to 1.6%. 6 months would be 3.6%. 9 months would be 6.4%. Or if you have a lockup period of 12 months, then that's going to give you a 10%. Now, what's also going to be entitled when it comes into this is that when you do lock up, there are going to be polls that are going to be put into cabinet. And based upon your activity of interacting with those polls will determine the end result when that period is done and you're looking to claim your rewards from that. So the initial lockup will be coming up again after the end of this AMA. You guys can jump in. The poll you guys should see over here the next few days. There is a designated cabinet channel here in Discord. So not the cabinet testing channel that was there in the past, but there is a dedicated cabinet Discord channel. Make sure that you keep an eye out there because we will be posting information relating to cabinet inside there. And that would also include when the first poll is going to take action. Now, that first poll, to give you guys a little bit of an insight, is I would like to officially announce, some people have seen online, that Mike and I had a contest that was going on with the recent NFTs that were sold. I won that bet, so we have some KDA that somebody has bought that NFT with, and so we want to be able to allow the community to decide what we want to do with that KDA. So we're going to get a little bit more information to that. We'll get that out to you guys so you guys can be able to interact with, and very excited. But yes, Cabinet is officially launched today. So with that being said, I think it's been an awesome hour of time, guys. I think it's just exciting to get both of you guys into the same place and to interact with the community. It's been asked for quite some time, and excited to be able to see that play out. Just want to appreciate your guys' time and effort, and looking forward to hopefully doing another one of these here in the near future.
Yeah, just want to echo that. Amazing time. We really should be doing these a bit more often. And again, sorry that in prep we answered a bunch of the questions and then we didn't actually get to them. Now I assume everyone wants to just drop off and go and jump on cabinet. So let's leave it at that. All right.
Yeah, thanks everybody, and yeah, thanks to all the community for showing up for this. It's really great to hang out with you guys, and we'll do it again.
Awesome. Well, thanks again, everybody. We will post a link to this recording here shortly once we get that process so people can be able to dive back into that and listen to all the details and all that good stuff. And yeah, thank you. Enjoy the rest of your day, guys, and let's have a good one. Take care.